You are listening to episode 263 of the Game Deflators Podcast. My name's John, and I'm joined by Ryan.
Hey, everybody, here at the Game Deflators Podcast, we like to talk about games we've recently picked up, games we're currently playing, and we square off 5v5 in our top console clash.
So this week, Ryan and I are actually going to be ranking for ourselves our top 5 Nintendo consoles. So that is inclusive of both handhelds as well as, sitting back in front of your couch and hanging out in front of your TV. So before we start that, though, you can find us on the GameDeflators.com, our currently up-to-date website. But depending on when you're listening to this, it might be out of date. We'll see.
You can only hope.
You can only hope that it's up to date, but, I can only do so much. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. That's going to be at The Game Deflators, on X as Game Deflators. And also we're on Threads. So you can find us as, I think it's Game Deflators or The Game Deflators on there as well.
Do they not on either?
I don't remember, but there's 3 posts on Threads. So go check it out.
Move it up.
And YouTube as well. We're on there. So search up Game Deflators on YouTube. And lastly, you are listening to a podcast and on a podcast app. So leave us a 5-star review, comment, etc. We'd appreciate it. All right, current pickups or recent pickups. So more Magic cards have come in for me. I got my, let's see if I got it here for the camera for you, Ryan. I got 3 Wandering Emperors have come in right there.
Ooh, very nice.
Yeah, I actually like the design on this one. I don't know if you can see that, right?
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's like the alternate style, which I really like. So I got that came in, and that'll be going towards my blue-white control deck. So we'll see how that works. And then as far as games, I still don't have any games. I know we're recording on a shorter week right now. And no video games. I looked for Cyber Monday. I didn't see anything that I wanted. Again, and funny enough, I mean, we all knew it was going to be the same crap again. So it was the same exact discounts for the same exact games that were on Cyber Monday. Like nothing changed. And then my favorite thing was today. I was looking at like Best Buy does their 12 days of Christmas thing, and they have like a sale each day for certain items, and sometimes there's video games.
Birds?
So what's that?
Do they have bird sales?
Maybe. I don't know if they have bird sales. They might. So this dude hops on a Facebook group. He's like, oh my God, guys, look, the new Mario Rabbids game is on sale. And I'm like, it's been on sale for like a month for $15. The best part about it is it was $17.99. So it was $2 more, or no, $3 more to buy it as like the special deal after Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So, I mean, that goes to show you that the game either isn't selling very well and are just trying to get rid of it, or it just kind of goes back to the whole thing that we discussed the other day where like these retailers are not exactly putting out fantastic deals that are like, oh, I have to have this title, like it's games like that's the sale that normally is at, right? Like that's a normal price point. So yeah. And I mean, I've seen reports of like people went to Target and they took off the Black Friday sign for the discount, and it's the same exact sale as like that's been run for a while. So, I mean, I called it as well. Like, looking at those discounts online, they weren't exactly heavy discounts. And the games that I was like, really wanted, like Wo Long, I went down like $35, but now I'm seeing it consistently on eBay for about $35-$40. So in my mind, that's now the new regular price anyways. So it wasn't exactly like a special deal that was only going to happen then. I think the only time where it's like really applicable to, oh, this is a fantastic price is with brand new games. So when you think Street Fighter, the new Street Fighter was $30, right? So that in itself is actually a pretty good deal. If you're like a day one type of person, or you have to have it within the first couple months, like that's a good deal. But when you start looking at games that have been out for a while and you're throwing, oh, it's $15, that's $20. And that's normally the discounted rate that you see almost every month. Yeah, wasn't doing it for me. So Cyber Monday, there was nothing.
Yeah, I mean, you track these sales a lot more than I do, and always seem to be pretty on top of it. I'm not sure exactly what, the who had the best deals that you saw out there, you think?
To be honest, I liked a lot of what Best Buy had when I was looking at games, but a lot of the stuff that I would have wanted was sold out
Mm.
already at that point. And the reason it was sold out is because it's games that have been on sale for a while, you know. Some of them are a little cheaper, you know, than their normal discounted rate. But they've been out for a while, order games that just have literally been on the shelves for quite a while at this point, or a year or two, and they're just sold out in general. So they just didn't have them available. GameStop had some good deals as well overall. But the problem I found with GameStop is that, yes, it was new games that they were selling like 50% off, and there was buy two get one on used titles. But when I was looking for certain games, I'm like, oh, that's a cool game, like I really want that. It wasn't available to ship to home. It was, oh, pick up in store. So the issue I had there was, yeah, say there was a game I really wanted and it's to pick up in store, well, it wasn't available to me in a 50-mile radius type of thing.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, it just kind of comes down to, I just kind of buy games throughout the year. Occasionally, like if something
Yeah.
catches my eye and it's a good deal, or generally like a discounted rate, I'll pick it up. Which is like, for example, I got my wife a gift online, gaming related, and it was a game that I think I have it on PlayStation Plus. I'm like, I'd want a physical copy of that for her to be able to pop in and out whenever she wants, and not worry about if I have PlayStation Plus updated and I'm subscribed to it. So I picked it up and it was like $15. I'm not gonna say which game just in case she can overhear me. But it's normally, I don't know, $25 is what the game
Mhm.
normally costs, and it was $15. So I was like, let me go ahead and grab that. But that's usually how it goes throughout the year in general for me. I'll see random titles like Endling Extinction, for example. I think I bought that for $10, and I don't see it anywhere for like less than $15-$20. Right. So I found it at a decent price at that point. It was price matched on Amazon for whatever reason. I just said, screw it, let me pick it up. It's a random title that I may play at some point.
It looks
So
super sad.
yeah, I think it's super short too. So that might be one that you and I can play for future inflation deflation, because I don't think it's a very long game if I recall.
I mean, it's definitely longer than what we would play.
Yeah, I know. We can maybe grind out a little longer than normal, just get some more playthrough on it.
Mhm.
Well, so other than that, I am, of course, still playing Tales of Symphonia and Mario Wonder. Mario Wonder, we are in the third world, I think. And so I could provide a little bit of an update on that compared to, you know, where I stood the other day. So when it comes down to the badges that you get, there are, you know, I had noted that there's a lot of things in the badges. I'm like, yeah, the character should kind of already have that. Um, yes and no. You know, I get where some badges come into play. Like there's a dolphin badge, and that dolphin kick badge you need for certain like water levels to go upstream and all of that.
Mhm.
Or there's one that we got recently was you hold down and like hold down on the joystick, and then it shoots like it's a super jump basically, right? Like
Okay.
little things like that. So, you know, do I think all of the items that we're getting on badges should be on the characters already? I think there's an argument for yes or no, right? Some of them are situational, like you go into a level and you're like, oh man, I really need the dolphin kick to get through this level. But if I had my double wall jump, I could totally get to that particular coin, right? Or that particular box that's hanging out up top. So I can see where like the replayability, like they want you to go back into levels and do extra stuff. But at the same time, like, could we hypothetically like allow in certain instances, you know, Mario can do his dolphin kick, or Mario just already has the ability to do his super jump? Like, why do we need to have a badge attached to it? So I think it's a little unnecessary still, you know, to have these badges. I do think that they should be already on the characters, but I can see why they didn't incorporate them into like the character, right? And just make it like a straight up ability that they can do at all times. So I get that piece. As far as the platform is concerned, there are a few things like the special level or special world is definitely difficult. So that's a nice, like, refreshing challenge to the game.
Mhm.
There's been a number of instances where I go up to a level and it's like, oh, it's 4 stars or 5 stars difficulty. And I get it. I'm like, it's not really that difficult. Right. But the super, like, or the special level is, yeah, like that's definitely some hard
An
stuff.
actual challenge.
Yeah. So that's actually like an actual challenge, which is fun. Um, And then we had another one that was like timed platforms that like they disappear. So there's like this musical tone that goes and like the platforms appear, but then they disappear behind you. And so you're pretty much racing platforms. And if you slip, fall, whatever it may be, or miss your jump, you're done and you got to restart the whole level. So there's a couple things like that that were pretty fun to get into. Um, have I changed my tone as far as like there's too much things going on for this? No, I think there's still a lot going on in this Mario game. It is a bit much sometimes. Like there's a level where when every time you jump, these like spike shell creatures also jump, and it's just, is it fun to go around that stuff? Is it a challenge? Not really. Is it 100% necessary? Not really. But what else I mean, we're looking at what, 30 something years of Mario. Like, what else are they going to tie in at this point, right? They have to have like new things integrated that haven't been in other games. And so I get it. They're just kind of throwing things in there, just to throw them in, I feel. But yeah, overall, the game's all right still. And we're going to beat it. I don't unfinish Mario games. They get defeated. And then I will still maintain my stance. The elephant is the most useless power up I've ever used.
Okay.
Yeah, it is just ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
not good.
I mean, this is I don't know, hot take, I guess. Most people seem to really like it. I guess I haven't really heard anybody really talk about it as being as meh as you, but I mean, I would probably be in a similar boat. I mean, I went through Odyssey and everybody loves that game, and I don't have anything bad to say about it, but it's just not really my cup of tea. And I mean, just as much as you are a 2D platformer, maybe this just isn't, exactly what you were wanting from it. You thought it was going to bring a little bit more to the table.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I feel it's brought a little bit too much to the table sometimes. Um, I like the classic Mario vibe, and like I think when you look at like New Super Mario Bros. World, or not
Mhm.
World, sorry, yeah, New Super Mario Bros. World, like the newest ones that have come out, that are 2D platforming style. Um, they stick to a lot of like the classic pieces of Mario that
Mhm.
make Mario fun, right? Like you have your ice, you've got your same enemies kind of going through. It's a lot of the same stuff. And this one they put in a lot of new stuff in this game. And trying to give like somewhat of a fresh take, but at the same time it's not. And I do think it is a bit much. And I know it's a hot take for sure. Like it's definitely a hot take. Especially on the elephant, because like you said, people love the elephant so much, but I just think it's extremely clunky. Like it is a clunky, slow moving. I mean, yeah, you could speed up and you can do certain things with it, but it just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good to play as the elephant in Mario. Like I
So you're like,
find myself whenever there's like a random block that's like going through different power ups and you can hit it and one pops up. I'm like cursed every single time I hit one of those. A damn elephant pops up, and I'm just like, I just sigh. My wife looks at me. She's like, "What did you want?" I'm like, "Anything but the elephant." Like, you know, but moving on from Mario and that whole piece, Tales of Symphonia. So I got past the whole section with the Desians burning down the town, and then them kicking out Lloyd. And then what's the name of the person with the other person he's with right now? I forget the name.
Genus?
Yeah, Genus. So Genus and Lloyd have been expelled from the village, and things are still on fire. And they make their way out. I did find it really creepy, by the way. Like the monster from the ranch, when it comes out, it was like very much, and I know I'll probably learn more about like what the heck they're actually doing, but it was very clearly the person that they were trying to save or talk to at the ranch had been transformed into that nasty creature that tried to rescue them.
Mhm.
So that was pretty interesting to kind of see that whole piece come to fruition. And then as far as battling is concerned, I'm definitely feeling a lot more comfortable like chaining attacks. It's something that I've realized that I can do. So, your standard slashes and then your like special ability power-ups that or not power-ups, but your multiple stabs and your lunging and all of that stuff. And the demon, I think it's Demon Blade is the name of that move. So how you can chain attacks a little bit is kind of cool.
Mhm.
Um, and so, yeah, I'm liking that. And then I'm making my way to, I think it's the desert that I need to go to. So
Okay.
that's where I'm heading right now. Um, I looked at the timing of how long I've been in the game, and I think it's about 3.5 hours that I've played so far. And I'm level 8.
Nice.
So I don't know what the max level is. Don't really care. I'm just going to play through it. If I run into situations where I'm just like dying consistently on a boss battle, I'll go level grind.
I don't
And
remember having to grind a lot because I've never been a big grind person.
yeah,
Although the combat's pretty fun, so later on when you're trying to do cool stuff, it's pretty easy.
yeah, the combat's not bad. I actually enjoy it. It is a different take on that type of RPG because I mean, like, you have your standard like RPGs where you're kind of action RPGs where you're like in the midst of a top down view or 3D view action RPG. This takes, of course, that 2D approach, which, I've played older RPGs, obviously, where you have that 2D type of approach and your characters are lined up in such a manner where you see all of them and obviously you choose your attacks. And this is like, it's a nice change of pace. I mean, you got the action RPG style with the ability to select certain things as well. Um, and then just being able to change characters is also pretty interesting, like mid battle. So I,
Yeah.
I like all that. It's really cool so far. So I'm glad I'm playing it. It was off of a just random, hey, let me finally get to this, and I'm glad I started it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah. How about yourself?
So for me, I have not picked up anything new this week. Nada. I I've been playing more backpack. I have not buckled down to finish up Pikmin yet, but I feel it coming. It's almost December. It needs to get done. This is the time that we finish our games, or at least I do. But yeah, backpack came out with man, they changed a bunch. So like it's just a demo. It's still free on Steam. Anybody who wants just like a nice easy time waster game, it's really fun. Um but yeah, they're constantly releasing updates for it still and testing out the balance. So I was losing really, really badly in the last patch, and now I've kind of figured out that I think spikes are the way to go this patch. I'm really cleaning up with a bunch of spikes, so that's different than what I was building before. So still keeping it a bit fresh there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, other than that, I'm starting to try to think about what my new game's resolution for next year is going to be because we're going to have to be talking about that here pretty soon too.
Yeah, I'm still up in the air, man. Like, do I play an RPG? Do I play, you know, I don't know, Killzone, or some third person shooters and first person shooters? Not 100% sure yet. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of options out there. I always forget. So I played Cardia this past year, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was an older PS, and that's another thing, right? Do I play another PS1 RPG that I haven't played? There's quite a few actually on my shelf that I would just love to, dig into, and maybe that's what I do. Maybe I just look into one of those.
Yeah. Well, we'll go through all that. Next week we'll also be talking about the Game Awards because those are going to happen this week.
Mm-hmm.
So keep an eye out for future Game Deflators. But this week we're trying something a little bit different, a little bit new.
Well, before we dive into that, did you want to do a discussion topic?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So I figured we could just kind of chat the most recent D&D
Oh
session, you
yeah, yeah,
guys.
D&D.
Yeah, so we started year
Everyone
2.
who has been listening to our our trials and tribulations as we go through John's wacky magic school.
It's not my magic school, it's Wizards Magic School. Pun intended, I guess. But the team has started series, not series, Jesus. Year
Season
2.
2.
Season 2. No, year 2 of Strixhaven. So with this one, I mean, obviously I'd been sick for a while, so like prep has not exactly been easy, and I'm still getting over crap. Hopefully I could do a little prep this week and plan. Obviously I got at least 17 days to prep, so I don't have much of an excuse. I should be ready by then.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so you guys obviously started year 2, and you guys started it off with a bang. In
Did
that
we ever?
Groff Lundquist, the shopkeeper that is feuding with Joel and stealing his secrets, sold students a pill that acted as a severe laxative. And you guys made your way through campus with shit everywhere, literal
Oh
shit.
yeah, yeah, like wading through it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I don't even know how it came about, but like that happened. And you guys also learned about the battle for Strixhaven, which will be a nice little end game there for the year. And of course, you
We
guys
got
made
all
your
signed
way.
up for the tournament.
You guys signed up for the tournament, but before that, you were given the task of finding the little mascots that are roaming around. And I'm still debating on how I want to do that because, like, I'd commented while we were playing that, I don't like how the book is just like, oh, here's like 13 areas and these things happen, right? Within these 13 areas.
We already went through like half of it.
You're still missing like 2 mascots, I think.
Yeah.
So what I need to do for that, and it's not to spoil anything for you, but I need to see how I homebrew some additional things in there that tie into other events and occurrences that have happened on the campus that the
There you go.
book doesn't call out. Because like it's just like a fetch quest at that point, and it's like, oh, we're gonna send them all to go look for these mascots, and you guys are looking for mascots, and you're trying to look under rocks and hear them in the bushes and things like that, and negotiate with them. And then of course you guys take random approaches. So like Jenny, where she tried. I still think it was the most hilarious thing. She got mad at me, said that I was railroading the campaign when when we were talking about an inkling that was scared shitless from 2 giant praying mantis like creatures, and she's a praying mantis and hops out to try and capture it. And she's like, "It shouldn't be scared. I'm trying to save it." I'm like, "No, that's not how this would work." So it was just funny how that worked out in the sessions, but uh yeah, I mean, not a whole lot has happened since we last talked about it, but I assume that the last session wasn't exactly the best session of the campaign so far.
I mean, there's going to be hits and misses. There's going to be some slow sessions. I mean, I agree with you that maybe the book isn't presenting this in the best light for how to run it or, how to make the most of it. So definitely trying to throw your own thing in there. And I mean, the book's just for guidelines. You're just using that as a jumping off platform to get from one thing to the next so you don't have to write it all yourself. So, I mean, feel free to do whatever you want. I mean, most of the time that's when the best kind of content comes out anyways.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I already kind of have the idea of what I want to do with you guys in there. Um, and it really does relate to. I mean, you guys have already kind of had a hint as to what's coming, in the future
Yeah.
and some of the things you've discovered. Whether I or not I put that into that section is up for debate, how I approach it. But at least I'm seeding in things that will allow you guys to kind of think about it and say, oh, is this going to happen? Is it not? You dealt with the whole first year where there's like weird, black tar type stuff everywhere that you're dealing with and all these random occurrences. You haven't had that happen so far, but you guys did find like the lettering or the illegible text
Yeah.
that matches your notebook and stuff like that you discovered. So
We're
trying to
piecing
drop,
things together.
yeah, trying to piece a little things here and there that I hope for like long-term purposes works for the sessions, and we'll see. So
Keep
hopefully
an
we
eye.
have some good fun soon. All right, let's talk our consoles here. So what we did was we took every single Nintendo console released and we put it into our own top 5, and then within that top 5 we selected what we felt was the best game on that console.
Oh, is that what we were doing?
What we felt was the best game on that
Okay.
console. Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
just picked like a pretty good game from the console. But I guess I'll count it as a best game. We'll go with that.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at your list, and all of these games that are noted are pretty much the games that you talked about nonstop.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I mean, and I didn't even include like my favorite game on some of these consoles here, but let's start at the. Do you want to start at the bottom or go to the top first?
we can start at the bottom.
Start at the bottom. Okay, so top 5, number 5. So for me, I went with the Super Nintendo DS. I love the DS in all of its mini iterations, but I chose to go with the DS because it's not my favorite, but I spent a ton of time playing on it. I love the innovation of 2 screens, the jump in quality for a handheld was just through the roof. Like what you were able to get and play. Like I still remember being absolutely blown away, getting like a little Wi-Fi stick to plug into my computer tower at home because we didn't have like Wi-Fi, and being able to play Metroid Prime Hunters like handheld versus my friends and stuff like that was just so cool back in the day. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned before too at the DS in particular that I used to play a lot of like Mario Kart specifically, with that in, being able to play a Shy Guy, and my sister would play as, whatever character, and we would play through those games together in the car. So I did have a lot of, experience with that console in particular, but I mainly had greater experiences with the 3DS because that was my go-to as far as handheld is
yeah.
concerned. But that did not make number five for me. Number five for me was the Wii U. And honestly, I would have put it higher on the list because I love the Wii U. It's actually one of my favorite Nintendo consoles, but they have a lot of consoles that have had a lot more games that have been put out in comparison to the Wii U. So I kind of had to mark it five due to that reason. But as far as favorite game is concerned, Mario Kart 8 is my favorite on that console. I played a lot of Mario Kart 8. I got very good at that game. And whenever we'd have friends over, I mean, it was just very easy to just be like, hey, let's put four people on this console and have at it. And I think you could play up to 8 players, if I recall,
Hmm.
on Mario Kart 8. Or no, that might be Smash Bros.
Probably
But
Smash.
regardless, fun game. There's a reason that it was re-released on the Switch and that they've added so many tracks to it. It was not a bad release. It was just more so the issue of the Wii U just didn't sell.
Yeah, and they could just keep it going. I mean, I was just playing Mario Kart 8. Oh, that's what I've been playing. I've been playing some Mario Kart 8 still.
Right,
Yeah.
there you go.
Um, but yeah, it's so good. I completely skipped over my favorite game or game that I picked for the console. So I picked Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow.
That's a
I
good one.
know we were just talking last week and John is overwhelmed with the Metroidvania, but this is a good one. This was actually, I think, one of the first Castlevania games I played. It's definitely the first one I ever bought. I remember it was so much fun. The guidebook that I had for it was kind of a smaller one, and it was reversible because like at the end of the game you play through like the reverse castle or whatever, like in classic Castlevania style. So it's like you would play all the way through the game up to one point and then flip the manual over and then go through the other way. So it was pretty cool. I liked all the, false endings that you would run into, and thank goodness I had the guide to get through. But like the soul system in that game and just how you're able to kind of, I don't know, you've got a lot of customization for how you want to approach between all the different gear and the different souls you can equip, and how you can kind of play around with it. It's really fun. I wish I still had that game so that I could go back and play it more. I know those DS games aren't getting any cheaper.
I might actually have that one.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I think I do. I actually came across a GameStop one time that had a bunch of loose Castlevania games and a bunch of loose Dragon Quest games.
Nice.
Yeah, Dragon Quest. And so with those in particular, I bought them and then I just printed out my own covers
There you
and
go.
then and that was it. So they're loose copies technically, but they look good on the shelf with those covers I made. So yeah. All right,
Well,
number four. I'll kick off number four here. 3DS for me. I would say specifically the 3DS XL would be my favorite for number four. And Super Mario 3D Land is my favorite game on that. And I've played a number of 3DS games. I own a number of 3DS games. Super Mario 3D Land to me was the most fun that I had on that console. As far as a 3D experience is concerned, that to me was like top notch in the experience I had. It probably gave me the least amount of motion sickness out of
yeah,
all of the possible 3D games I could have played. And the whole like how I came about that, I knew a guy that worked at a pawn shop, and so I'd get like stellar deals from this guy. And so I got like my wife's 3DS, my 3DS, a Mario game, and several other games for like $150 at the time.
good
And
deal.
like, yeah, great deal at the time. So I used to actually take this when I was a substitute teacher. I would actually take my 3DS XL, and then whenever kids were on break, I would play Mario.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to do that. So I remember that one pretty extensively based on those experiences, and just just the sheer amount of fun that it was. That was, I wouldn't say that was my first like foray into Mario 3D style, but it was definitely my favorite experience out of all of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good console. So number 4 for me, and this, I wanted to put it higher on the list, but just looking at my favorite things, I had to fit it where I could. I got the Super Nintendo Classic. That's the first video game console I ever had growing up. It's got so much nostalgia. I mean, I got my Super Nintendo Mini right here next to me at my desk. Um, All time great. I understand why some people would probably be their top of all time. It's got a fantastic library. It really brought gaming into kind of like a real next level, like seeing the Super Nintendo versus what the NES could do was like night and day difference, and it was amazing. um and my chosen game, I've never even actually played on an actual Super Nintendo, and I doubt I ever will, but that is Earthbound. Earthbound is one of the best RPGs, I think, of all time, and one of my favorite games. It really is stellar. It's kind of in its own class. I wish I knew the name, John, of the book that we wrote those things for. Do you know? Because I wrote my
Oh,
blurb on Earthbound for that.
yeah, it's not out yet. It's Brian Rigsby
Yeah,
at Retro Game Books. Yeah, so we wrote Ryan wrote specifically on it's funny, I think both our games are on here. So you wrote about Earthbound. I'll reveal mine here in a bit. The game that I wrote about. But
yeah.
yeah, we wrote, short form piece on uh it was about maps,
World
retro,
maps.
yeah, world maps, and going into detail on like why we like those world maps
Yeah.
and a little review about it. So keep an eye out for Brian's book, and we'll be featured in that one. So just to comment on Super Nintendo, I'm not surprised by where you rated it, because I know that yeah, it's one of your first consoles, but your experience was primarily with other consoles that have been out of market over the years. So I'm not shocked where you put it, but at the same time, I wouldn't have put it that low.
Yeah.
And so we'll reveal that location, because we know Super Nintendo's on my list. It's got to be. I've talked about it for many times over the years. So where it stands, you'll find out. But
Moving on to number 3, and we're at the same place on this one. I'm surprised we actually did line up on something here.
yeah, so we both lined up on GameCube for our or not favorite, but our number 3 on this list. Uh, I looked at this from the idea of quality of games that are on the console and the experiences that I've had with that. Right, so GameCube was not one I owned until much later on in life, but I did pick up a number of GameCube games over the years. So I kind of missed this in terms of buying new releases and enjoying those games, because I was busy playing PlayStation 2, right? And then I was busy playing PlayStation 3. I didn't really start diving into GameCube until much later. So definitely not the same type of experience as most people, probably not even the same as yourself. But what I will say is I played a lot of Smashies
Yeah.
on that game console, and that was throughout college. So throughout, like, that's what we did. We'd play Smashies. We'd go to each other's house. Somebody would have a GameCube. I owned a controller for GameCube, even though I didn't have a GameCube, right? I owned a copy of Smash Bros, even though I didn't own a GameCube at the time, because, well, I would bring it just in case the person that
Yeah.
owned it, did not
You're
did not
down
bring.
for Smash.
Yeah, it's
That's
like
why you're here.
yeah, we were always down for Smash. Somebody had Smash in their house, and that's what we did. So it was always fun, a group of like 10, 12 of us just sitting back playing Smash Bros, rotating out. Whoever lost, obviously, like not lost, but whoever got fourth
Yeah.
when we played, they'd give
That's
up their
lost.
controller. And then everybody else top 3 would normally play. So it was always fun. Like, everybody had their specific characters. I always had Jigglypuffs, so I was constantly like on the corner, rolling, hitting people, hitting them with rest when they weren't expecting it, just like people cursing. It was great. So that's what we did, and it's always like the most memorable moments. And of course, there's different games on there. Like we've played Eternal Darkness for the podcast. We had Mario Sun. I don't know if we played Mario Sunshine, but I've played through Mario Sunshine. Star Fox. I love the Star Fox game on there. I think that's very different. And then you've got your game as well that you enjoy on that
Yeah,
one.
I mean, GameCube is one of my growing up consoles that I got that I spent a ton of time with. I had like the portable screen. It was like in the car when we were road tripping to California. I took it on vacation, bringing it over to friends' houses and everything. Played loads of Smash. I think the GameCube has one of my favorite libraries for any Nintendo console. Um, it's just got so many great things. I mean, everything that you named, plus Double Dash, Luigi's Mansion, Resident Evil 4, my favorite game of all time. Resident Evil 1, the remake, the first remake for a Resident Evil game is on there and still looks gorgeous and fantastic to this day. Tales of Symphonia that you're playing right now, and one of my other favorite games of all time, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, which is getting a remake on Switch soon, and I can't wait to play that again and see what it looks like there. But I still have my Thousand Year Door. I think it's the only GameCube game that I own. But I love the GameCube. I love the controller for the GameCube. I love the shape and the design, and I still wish that I had one. I'll probably get one day. I know you could trick it out in all kinds of crazy mods and stuff now and do all kinds of neat stuff with it, but I would love to have it. I just love the everything about it. It's a great console. It's number 3 for me. Just because there's other things that I like more for other reasons.
Well, if you ever want a GameCube, I got like 8.
Yeah, I know you do.
I literally have stacks of them. Yeah, and I came across GameCubes all the time when I would buy collections, and I just didn't always sell them. So I've just got stacks of GameCubes. I really got to get rid of them. All right, so number 2, this is going to come to a shock for some people. Super Nintendo is on my number 2. I had a very difficult time making my decision between console 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
And I'll go into explanation when we reveal number 1. But for me, obviously, Super Nintendo is my first console. I played it a lot as a kid, played it a lot as a teenager, played it a lot into college. I haven't exactly played it a lot into my current adulthood or period of time in my adult life. But that's because there's just a lot going on, right? So I don't always have time to sit back and play Super
You got
Nintendo
all kinds
games.
of PS5s now.
Well, yeah, and then just kind of the location where I have it is upstairs. My kid's sleeping up there.
You got to be tethered to it. You can't like sit back on your couch and play it.
Technically, I can because I have a Retron 5.
Okay.
So I actually do. Whenever I do play, I play on a Retron 5 and upscale. I'm still in the middle of playing one game. Terra Enigma, actually, is a game that I'm still technically in the middle of. And I stopped playing that because, my kid goes to bed upstairs. So I have to close his door. And during the summertime, I hate closing his door because it just gets hot in general in the house. Not that we don't have AC, but his room gets a little hotter than normal. And so having the door with that airflow is super helpful. And I just don't want to potentially wake him up. So it's a time of the year now where I probably could start back on Terra Enigma and play it again. But I just haven't. And I've got other games I'm playing right now anyways.
More important games.
Yeah, more important games. But my game on that console is Donkey Kong Country 3. I mean, that should come to no surprise to anyone. I love that game. It is my ultimate favorite game on the Super Nintendo. Obviously, there's people that will argue, that Donkey Kong Country 2 is better or Donkey Kong Country 1. No, like I don't think either of those hold up a candle. Number 3, I love the soundtrack on this game. The world map is something that I talked about in Brian's book, and put a piece in there on that and how that's all worked out. And of course, the levels, the banana birds, everything that's tied to it. It's just, yeah, it's just one of my favorites. And I've played all three of them, obviously. This one just always, for me, is the one that does it. I know it's not the same for everybody, but this one is definitely my favorite.
Solid. So, number one for me was actually really easy because I think it's been my favorite console for a long time. So that made number two a pretty good cinch as well. So I went with the Switch for my number two console because it's incredible. I love my Switch. The genius idea of one console, portable or not. I played mine probably like 80% in handheld mode. Um, Not that I don't like plugging into a TV and playing it on there. It's just I love handheld gaming and playing from, laying down on the couch or in bed or whatever and not having to worry about where things are plugged in is so nice. Plus it's like the everything console. It's got um I mean, you know, the Switch NSO service isn't the best, but it does give you quite a little library between NES, SNES, uh, you know,
Game Boy.
Game Boy, N64, Sega's on there too. There's a bunch of stuff that you could play on there, and then it's got so many indie games that I have really loved and enjoyed. Plus, they're porting everything under the sun to it that was like for Wii U and other consoles, and um, I just don't see a real end for sight. It's one of the best-selling consoles of all time, and I chose Animal Crossing: New Horizons for this because it's probably one of the games that I played the most on the Switch. And I mean, both of the Zeldas are great. Odyssey was good. Smash is awesome. There's so many like premier titles on the Switch, but I really feel like Animal Crossing is like the spirit of the Switch. It's just this fun, cozy game that you want to play here, there, and everywhere and put a bunch of your time into. And it's got that homey feeling that I associate with a lot of Nintendo stuff. So that's what I went with for my number two.
Nice. So your number two actually is my number one, which I did have a difficult time, between putting the Switch and Super Nintendo. But the reason I ultimately went with the Switch is because of what you noted. The Switch has a lot of things that have been ported to it. There's a lot of opportunity to play games that are on Super Nintendo, Nintendo, GameCube, etc. GameCube coming in the future, remakes that have been coming out. So, I mean, it is a catch-all console, and it does have a good feel to it. It does have compatibility of like pro controllers. I actually didn't note one of my pickups was one of the Power A controllers on a Nintendo Switch, one of the rechargeable ones. I love it. It's so nice to be able to play like that. And compare like the normal, the two Joy Cons connected and the little holder, like that's fine. But in playing Mario Wonder, I discovered that when you're trying to run and jump, you hit the joystick by accident on the right hand side.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, no, I can't keep doing this. And so we got a pro controller specifically for that game. And it's nice for 2-player, obviously, to have something else like that instead of the little tiny Joy Cons.
Yeah.
So we did get that for that reason. But yeah, I mean, so it's definitely one of the best selling consoles of all time. It's, I think, the best console that Nintendo has released. And with that, the best Mario game that I feel they've released, and that's Mario Odyssey. So Mario Odyssey for me, it was, in my mind, that is perfection for Mario, at least from a 3D perspective. Like that is the best 3D Mario that could have been released. And there's so much that it has going for it, so many secrets, so many different costumes you can use, the integration of amiibos. It does have obviously the world vibe, the 3D world vibe going for it. Easily my favorite. Like there's just no second place on that comes close to
Mm-hmm.
Mario Odyssey.
Number one for me is gonna be a weird one, and a lot of people are gonna be like, what? I have always said for a long time now that my favorite console of all time is the Game Boy Advance Micro. It's so tiny, it's so cute, it's got a bright, colorful little screen and an amazing pocket ability and a wonderful library to carry around and play with you wherever. So many good titles, so many good memories between like Pokemon, Golden Sun, all kinds of things that are getting, new remakes now and releases, like the Advance Wars series getting the Reboot Camp edition on Switch. So lots of room for Nintendo to keep mining some of these properties. I would love to see like a new Golden Sun for Switch or something. But my chosen game is actually Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, a game I had never played until this very year, and never finished. But it's amazing. It's a really great, quirky little Mario RPG with some, button timed combat that is really fun to get good at and provides a lot of challenge. Exploring the world is just so interesting. Trying to control two characters essentially at the same time with just the A and B buttons is such a simple scheme, but they make it go so far and put so much into it. And it's just, I don't know, I love this package, the design of it. If I had all the money in the world, I would get all the different colors for the Game Boy Micro and make a little display out of them. That would be like a dream collection goal for me. But I just think it's the best. And if you don't agree, guess what? Make your own list. Tell us about
I every time that I hear Game Boy Micro, I'm like, that console was designed for women's pants.
it.
Like, women complain about like not having pockets. Like this thing fits in
Perfect.
women's pockets. Yeah, it's that small. But I'm not surprised that that's what you went with for your number one.
I like tiny things.
Yeah, I mean the dude has like collections of like tiny kitchens and like tiny ducks and other things. Like Ryan is a big fan of tiny things. I'm not sure why.
Well, no, this is not the tiniest. There are smaller consoles.
That's true. I hear your wife is into tiny things too. Sorry, I had to throw it out there.
John.
I had to throw it out there. All right. Well, definitely appreciate you all sticking around for this of our top 5 Nintendo consoles. This is a first of hopefully many. I mean, there's like 3 big players that we can go into for the most part and do a top 5. And really, when you think about it, it's like PlayStation. What's the top 5? Well, PlayStation 5 and is the highest you can go. I mean, no, not really.
Down.
Technically, we could do Vita, we could do PSP, and then we could do PSP Go. So there is that option. Xbox, we're kind of screwed, unless we say X and Series S. I don't know.
Include the Microsoft operating system in there.
Maybe, yeah, we include that. Hey, look, if you could play Doom on a pregnancy test, then we can include that in there as well, because it has to be running Windows 95, right, to be able to run that.
5 things that can play Doom.
Yeah. Oh my God, that'd actually be a fun one. And then obviously you've got Sega that we could technically do Sega, and
we'll see what happens.
Vectrix. We'll do a top 1 on Vectrix.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Just top 5 Vectrix games. So was I talking to you about that, by the way, that like with Vectrix we could do like a starter kit showdown and it would have to be like $1,500. Yeah. That'd be so dumb. All right. Well, again, appreciate everybody listening. This has been episode 263 of the Game Deflators Podcast. My name's John.
I'm Ryan.
And thanks for listening.